Anyways, I had a lot I want to talk about, but before I recorded, last night the Black Hawk helicopter crashed into the American Airlines flight, and we don't know what happened yet. And of course, the internet, like the internet does, ran to conspiracy theories. I'm to the point where it's impossible to just have an accident, human error. Like there was no ulterior motive. There wasn't a government cover up. Uh, that's also an option. It could have just been an accident. And I'm sure it was human error if it was an accident. But as a guy that flies every week, and sometimes I'm on 4 or 5 planes in a week, uh, you always, when you get on those flights, man, you don't think about it because I got like 3 million on Delta, 3 million miles on Delta. I got like 1 million on United, couple 100,000 on American and Southwest, and zero on Spirit. Don't fly Spirit. Call me bougie. I don't. Uh, but anytime you hit turbulence or bad weather or anything of that nature, you're always like, you just you're thankful when you land. You're thankful for the pilots, the flight attendants. Um, and that's why whenever I get off a plane, I always say thank you. I always say thank you to the pilot. If they're standing out there, thank you. We're safe. Uh, but as a guy that lived in DC also, I've flown into that airport so many times. The Reagan Airport. It's one of those few airports that I think San Francisco and Reagan, when you're coming in, it's just water. And then you're like, where's the runway? And then the runway just appears and you're on the runway, which can be expected in San Francisco. You consider San Francisco the ocean, but not not DC. If you haven't flown in there before, it's surprising. You're right along the water. And I think this one hit a little closer to home for me is because I lived in DC. I lived on the river. I was on well, it was the Navy, not the Navy Yard, but uh, Bowling Air Force Base, and then we were on the Navy side of Bowling Air Force Base when I was in the honor guard. So we literally our barracks, my view was the Potomac River, the Anacostia River, and one of them I can't remember which one. I'm sorry, I don't want to give misinformation, but uh, we could see the airport like from the base. So, and a lot of times you can see, you probably don't realize it when you're flying in DC, you can see that the Navy base and Bowling Air Force Base as you're flying in. On one side, you're going to see Virginia. On the other side, you're going to see Maryland and turns into DC. And it really is a very cool city to fly over when you're flying into DC because you get to see the monument, the White House, depending on where you're coming from. But to see an accent like this, you're like, I can't even imagine. You, it's hard to even put your mind around that. You're flying. You're probably putting your tray up. I saw the one husband, his wife texted him and said we're 20 minutes from landing, and then he texted her back and didn't go through, which to me says that wreck happened shortly after that text was sent, and then he felt like something was wrong because she wasn't answering his text. But you're just literally going through your normal routine when a plane's landing. You're rebuckling up, putting your seat back, putting your seat tray up, and like that, your life's over. I got my guess is, and you kind of hope like there's no survivors. You kind of hope it was instantly. You hope there wasn't any suffering. There wasn't anybody that drowned that had lived through the plane crash and then couldn't get out the plane. You hope it was just instantaneous. As warped as that is to say, but get ready because the conspiracy theories are coming. They've already started, and it just cannot be human. I remember talking to Lil Duval, who flies a lot, and he told me, he goes, he got a little plane. It's not the most luxurious plane, but it's a plane. And I asked him, "Is you ever nervous, like when you're flying, or like it might break down?" He goes, "Dude, 90% of the crashes on planes are human error. It's not the plane. The plane's got engines, got 2 engines. You can guide it. He goes, it's human error. So when this wreck happened, I immediately thought of Lil Duval because I was like, oh, I wonder. You just wonder where the communications went wrong, and it just it's sad. It's sad. Um, yeah, especially being a guy that's flown into that airport so many times in my life and knowing exactly the views that those people on the plane were looking at when they got hit. Uh, it's just kind of sometimes like you're going through life and you almost feel indestructible. You don't think about dying at all, and then something like this happens, especially somebody that flies a lot. Uh, you always, every time you get on a plane, you realize, whoa, you know, this is completely out of my control. If something happens on this plane, I have no control. I cannot stop it. It wasn't my fault. I'm just a passenger on a plane, and it's just sad. I feel for all the families, people that either were on their way home, on their way on a trip to DC, and you wonder what went wrong with the Black Hawk. Because from the outside looking in, and yeah, I'm jumping to conclusions right now, it would seem like it was pilot error on the helicopter's fault. Because if the plane is in a commercial airspace and it's on its way landing, I'm sure this was a normal, everyday thing, So my guess would be the helicopter was in the wrong airspace. And that's just from the outside looking in. That's what I would say initially. And I hope it wasn't on purpose. I hope this isn't some, I don't know. I really hope it's just pilot error and it was an accident, is what I hope. But people are going to run with it regardless. I've heard people already blaming Trump. I'm going, oh my God, dude. I used to do a joke about how if it was raining, I'd be like, Trump, it wasn't raining when Trump wasn't in office. Or we never got a snowstorm when Trump was in office. I mean, God. He does a lot of things wrong. I'm not absolving him of stuff, but this wasn't his fault. Come on, let's slow down there. Let's slow down. It makes you, I don't know. Because, it's funny because I landed yesterday. I landed last night. I'm on my way home when I saw the thing come across my phone. Flight crashing in DC. I'm going, oh. I think for me it always hits home a little more just because I fly so much. Yeah. So let's slow down on the conspiracy theories. And we got to realize a lot of people are throwing out conspiracy theories just for clicks. That's really the only reason. Even they probably don't believe it. And you also got people like Jones who want to be, I was the first one to say that. Instead of being right, I want to be first. So I'm going to refrain. But if you ask me, my opinion on it is, and this is what I hope, and as warped as that sounds, I hope it was just pilot error on the helicopter, is what it seems to me from outside looking in. Going off what Duval told me, as much as I fly and everything else. And you wonder how this could happen. But you also wonder, airplanes are the ones, they got to have 100% success rate. You can get in a car accident and still live. It's rare you're going to get into a plane accident and still live. So, yeah.